My name is Leroy Smith. I go by Lee. And this is
Leo. I go Leopoldine, but I go by Leo.
I started off as a teacher in East Africa back in 1962. You know the old saying, they say if you can, you do. If you can't do, you teach. And if you can't teach, you administer. So after that, I went into international educational development and began administering educational development programs in the third world.
So this is my grandfather who signed the treaty with Germany. And his wife was half Cameroonian, half Irish. This is my father, Etel, but the eldest is Alexandre.
Well, I've traveled to 118. And this year I hope to add 2 more, so I will get up to 120.
And which 2 would those be?
That would be Papua New Guinea and Fiji. Greatest experience I had when I was in Paris, we were invited to the South African Embassy in France, in Paris, the day they had their elections, their first free elections, after Nelson Mandela had been liberated and was running for president. And we walked over there, and there was a line around, I don't know how many blocks, and we finally got up to the front door and got in. But it was so wonderful to see all of these South Africans who were living in South Africa standing in line to vote the first time.
I never thought about that because first, to be a princess, you have to have some money.
You need money.
You need money to keep
Be
the-
royal.
Her grandfather was the prince of the Douala Bells, one of the tribes there, the major tribe, the tribe that signed a treaty with the Germans when they came in, making Cameroon a protectorate of the German nation. So anyway, Leo was born in Douala, and when she was 17 in high school, during the summer she got a job with a French airline called UTA, working as a ground hostess. One day the plane from France came in, and the hostess, the crew said, "We're short one person. The person didn't arrive in Paris, and we're short one person. So, can you fill in for this stewardess?"
I was scared to death.
Oh.
Take off, I said, this is my last day. And my parents, I didn't say anything to them.
She fell in love with flying, and she went off to Paris to study to be a flight attendant. She lived there, and then she was hired by Air France. She was the first one to be hired. Her registration cards, she was the first #1 person hired for Air Afrique, and her card says 001. So that's why I called her 001. But she was the first black flight attendant in the world. The U.S. did not hire black flight attendants until 1959. Yeah, when I was born here 27 years ago, as you can see. Actually, 77 years ago. And
27 is more believable.
that's right, thank you. Okay, this is my father, and this is my mother. This is my mother's mother. This is my mother's mother, and this is my great-grandmother. These are all on my mother's side. This lady came from UK and married a barber in Omaha. But I've worked for my father in the rhythm record and sporting goods shop. They called the music that African Americans developed race music. Gospel, jazz, rhythm and blues, rock and roll, and all of that stuff. And he was selling these records because he had worked on the railroad going from Los Angeles to Chicago, and he had lived in Chicago for a while and met a lot of musicians, and he actually learned to play the bass and was playing there. But he couldn't really get a good job. It was in the 30s, when recession time. I'm going to stop working on the railroad and I'm just going to concentrate on a record shop. And so he opened the record shop. So that's the way I grew up. I had to work. He told me, I need you down at the shop. So you come down after school. Don't do your homework. Just come down and work, and then you can go home and do your homework after you eat, after dinner. And so I learned to work in a shop. I was sweeping the floors, cleaning the toilet, delivering the newspapers, and I was selling items. I wanted to get some money to go to college, so I got a job as a busboy. And that was my first job away from my father's shop. My sister took over from me, and people came in and asked her, "Where is Junior?" That's what they called me. My name was Leroy Junior. "Where's Junior?" She said, "Oh, he's driving a bus." They said, "Oh, yeah, he's a busboy." She didn't know what a busboy
Oh, she
was.
didn't know what a busboy was. Okay.
Neither did I until I got the job.
Ah.
The first day on the job, it was down here on Colorado Boulevard, at a restaurant called the Golden Lantern. And I had gone into the kitchen because they said they needed new plates. The waitresses said they needed clean plates. So I piled all these plates up to my neck. And I was walking out of the kitchen and I hit the doorstop at the top. And everything fell. We were married in 1979. We met in Washington, D.C., however, at a party to welcome African youth leaders to the United States. I had worked for Operation Crossroads Africa, and they invited me to come back to meet some of the students who were coming in, the youth leaders who were coming in, to make them feel at home. And they invited Leo as well. And we were at this party, and I saw this beautiful young lady sitting across the way from me, and I had my date here, and I said, "We're here to make them feel welcome, so I'm going to go over and ask this lady to dance." And she said, "Good, maybe someone will come and ask me to dance so that I can participate as well." Sorry, and so I went over and I asked, "Would you care to dance?" And this woman said, "No." And I said, "No, I just asked you if you would like to dance on the dance." "No!" So I said, so this woman was sitting next to her, and they started talking in French. Didn't know I spoke French. And so she was saying, "Oh, please dance. You know, this is the custom in America. They're very friendly people. They're just going to dance with you." "No, no, no." And so I said, "Well, thank you," and I said in French, "Thank you very much, I understand." And I walked away, started to walk away, and she said, "I'll dance with you."
I was so embarrassed. I could not even talk because the way she answered it, I said, what happened here?
We have 2 children. We lost one child, but we have 2 children, a daughter and a son. Our son works in San Francisco. He lives in Oakland, works for the Department of Justice. And our daughter lives in New York City, and she works for Columbia University in the financial office. Leo and I had started a program called DAWA, Denver in Africa Working Against AIDS. This was when the AIDS epidemic was so important. It was destroying the black community in Denver as well as all of the communities in Africa where it was rampant.
Keep an open mind. Look first before you judge. You are young and you just right away you judge. No, just and see a lot of friends, different countries. You know, this gives you a lot of enrichment.
What I tell my nephew all the time is, please continue your education. If you don't learn anything new in one day, you've wasted a day.